Space Jam: A New Legacy. So Space Jam: A New Legacy is a sequel, kind of, to the original Space Jam that was almost 30 years ago now at this point. I think it came out in 1995, 96.
96 came out in 1996. I was there opening night.
Mm-hmm.
I was mind blown opening night. Became my favorite movie instantly. I can't tell you how many times I saw Space Jam. I can't tell you how much Space Jam toys I had, Space Jam gear. It was a phenomenon. And let me tell you, one thing that does not get talked about enough is the damn soundtrack. That soundtrack for me is legendary. It still holds up to this day. There's a lot of songs on there that, they're considered throwbacks, and a lot of songs on there that people don't know were actually made for the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And
one's tough. There's a couple that are tough to bring up now, but
yeah. I mean, we'll go ahead and say it. Like the R. Kelly one, yeah. I mean, the song is great despite of what he's done and all that. It's still a great song. But one song that gets slept on all the time is the Monstars theme, and it's Hit 'Em High, right? So you have to understand, like, my love, and you already know this, my love for hip hop and all that. And so growing up in the 90s, which I consider is the golden era of hip hop, the best hip hop came out in the 90s. We had some great people coming out in the 2000s. But for me, if you go back to legends, I know the 80s and late 70s started it all. But for me, the golden era where it's on its prime has always been the 90s, forever will be the 90s for me. But this song has Be Real from Cypress Hill, Method Man, it has Coolio, it has Busta Rhymes, LL Cool J. Like this is all one track, man.
Yeah.
And it's just a dope song. In fact, my son's birthday was last week, and we did a Space Jam Legacy birthday party for him. And, I opened up when the kids were starting to jump in the pool. I had to play Space Jam as the first song being played. So, we had the Quad City DJ song. Mm-hmm. Everybody was hyped. And I had some friends with me that day, and they were just talking about, how great the original soundtrack and the song is great. And, so what was missing from this movie, which we'll get into. I disagreed a lot with them overall, but I showed them the Hit 'Em High song. They're like, why have I never heard this song? Is it in the movie? I'm like, as soon as the Monstars get introduced, they clip the song for like 10 seconds or 15 seconds, and that was it. And then they roll in the end credit. They play it like right at the end. But I'm like, and then my friend's like, I'm buying this soundtrack just for this song alone, because you can't buy it on Apple. You can't, how Apple Music, you can like select songs. That album, you have to get that song, you have to buy the full album. And he goes, that song's worth $10. I'll buy it. But
worth $10? Jeez, okay.
Yeah, I love that song. And I've shown whoever hasn't heard of it, and I've showed them, they're like, dude, that song's dope as hell.
That brings us to this movie here.
Yeah.
Space Jam New Life. So like you said, you love the original one. I think the original is like, I get the nostalgia of it, but also I don't even want, like, I know people look at it fondly because of how they grew up with it as a kid, but if you look at it as an adult for the first time today, it's not great. Like it's
and that happens a lot with you. That's what happens. Like, since you weren't around, right, or you were too young to get it. When you see a movie now, obviously, like Point Break. Point Break is a prime example where I'm like, damn, I remember liking this movie a lot more when I was younger, and when I saw it as an adult, I'm like, yeah, doesn't hold up. For some reason, Space Jam doesn't do that with me. I don't know why. I showed it to my kids, and I still have that love for it. I obviously, as an adult, know that it's not great, but I still think it's like.
Well, it's tough because this is a tough movie to look at critically, because obviously Michael Jordan's not an actor. Okay, LeBron James is not an actor. Okay, but you can't judge them being like, oh, they can't act. Of course they can't act, because they haven't had all these years of experience like all the other actors have had. But the original has fun. So like Bill Murray's in it, and then you got like fun cameos from Charles Barkley and all this stuff. Like, I think it's a fun movie.
Muggsy Bogues, Larry Bird, man. Like, you had some stars there.
And now you get into this film here. And I think this film, I don't know about you, I think it's better than the original. I enjoy this one more. And yes, it is, because I'll tell you what, and this is where the line comes for a lot of people. A lot of people are saying that this new movie, Space Jam: New Legacy, is just a big commercial for Warner Brothers. Okay.
That was the first one.
Yes, so is the original. So if
The
you're
original.
defending the original, then you can't be mad at this because the first one is the exact same way as this. Obviously, they say the word Warner Brothers like I think 35 times in this movie or something like that. Like it's a whole plot point and everything.
It's not thrown in your face like this one is. That's the difference. In the first one, they try to do it very subtle. This one is like the whole movie is just the what do they call it? The Warnerverse?
Warnerverse?
Yeah.
Serververse. Yeah.
But again, like we're gonna start obviously getting into it.
Let's do this. The basic plot here is there's a Warner Serververse that is being created, and it's run by not Don Cheadle, but it is the actor Don Cheadle. He's this character that lives within the Warner Brothers Serververse.
The algorithm.
Yes, he's the algorithm. Yeah. And he comes up with this idea to get noticed. I'm just going to recruit one of the most famous people in the world to represent us. We're going to team up, and we're going to, be able to be everywhere in the world. And he recruits LeBron James. That's who he wants. So LeBron sets up a meeting, and LeBron sits down in the Warner Brothers studios, and he hates it. He thinks it's absolutely terrible. Meanwhile, LeBron has a son who loves creating video games and not as much basketball. And LeBron and his son kind of have this little dynamic going on where they really don't get along as well. So Don Cheadle's character hates that LeBron hates this idea. So what he does is he sucks both his son and LeBron into the Warner Brothers Serververse and challenges LeBron to a basketball game. Basically saying, you'll get your son back if you win, but if you lose, you're stuck here forever, and we're going to delete all the Looney Tunes. And so LeBron has to go on this mission to recruit characters to be on his basketball team. I like this. He has this big idea. I'm going to recruit Superman. I'm going to get King Kong, the Iron Giant.
That was really smart when I saw that. I'm like, that's actually pretty smart. He knew who to go for.
Yeah, he knew the right people, but then he ends up with Bugs Bunny
being was like, no, I need my friends back, man.
So
I don't know why they didn't mention like, hey, dude, we've done this before. Like, I don't know why that line wasn't thrown in there because the only reference, I guess, to the original, not only reference, but the on the nose reference was like, so you need a bad guy took your son or is making you play basketball and you need to play with some tunes, and he looks at the camera, he's like, that sounds awfully familiar. That was like the only like tip, like on the nose reference to the original.
And so here's the thing that I find funny is that Don Cheadle's like, I'm going to send this guy down to the rejects. It sends him to Toon World. The Looney Tunes are indestructible characters of chaos who have never lost. So these are the characters you want on your team because they're never going to lose at anything that they do. And so Bugs Bunny, as he's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to take you to recruit all these characters, he instead goes and rounds up all his friends, which I think might be the best part of the movie. Is them going. So
that is hands down the best part of the movie. I mean, I really enjoyed. We'll get to the actual basketball game, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I was not that joy, and I maybe it's because again it's the nostalgia, and I didn't really pay attention to things like that when I was younger. I was 10 when the movie came out. But I really noticed how bad LeBron was. Like, and I know he's not an actor, and I wasn't really like holding anything against him, but he was like noticeably bad. And I was like, oh my God, dude, I don't know if I can do. And the movie fairly long. When I was watching it, I'm like,
2 hours, yeah.
It's almost 2 hours, dude. And I'm like, and when the first one I think runs at like 125, 130. I don't think it reaches the 130 mark.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know if I can do this for almost 2 hours to watch this guy like that. Like it was just bad for me. However, once he turns into a cartoon and he's going through the different properties, that for me was it's the movie fan in me. But I'm like, oh, we got something here. I'm like, I like this because it was done so well because I loved how they used the actual scenes and just did their little touch on them, like seeing Granny as Trinity and Speedy Gonzalez running on the bullets. I ththought that was done so well. Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner in the Mad Max world. Excuse me. I thought that was fantastic stuff. So I
love Rick and Morty just dropping.
Yeah, Rick and Morty just show up out of nowhere. So I'm like, Jesus, man! Like they really threw literally everything at you. But I thought those scenes were so great, and that's honestly when I started. And like the whole voiceover thing with LeBron, I was like, all right, I like this. And it was smart. It was smart of them to do that because obviously he's a busy guy and they're not going to have him on studio all the time. So he can probably kill those scenes in a day or two, And so I thought that was really smart of them. But I liked how it was progressing the story. And I was invested at that point. I'm like, all right, it's not, now he's just doing voiceover. It's fine. We're getting not introduced, but, we're seeing all these properties happening. That at least for me, that's where it grabbed me. Now, in retrospect, I don't know if my kids would appreciate that because my kids haven't seen Mad Max. My kids haven't seen Austin Powers. My kids haven't seen The Matrix. Like for them, they'll probably be like, all right, like that's cool. But what, like they won't lose their mind like I did. So I think that was the more of a like more cadence for the adults. Like, hey, we got something for you guys too. So it was, I think, pretty smart for them to do something like that.
No, and I think that it was good to get the adults back in there because this movie is mostly for kids. It really is. But for the adults, it has that entertainment value because you recognize those films. And then you really recognize everything when the crowd shows up at the basketball game. When you have all the Warner Brothers characters surrounding them, watching it, being spectators for the game. And you see, King.
All the Warner Brother characters. All I saw was Pennywise.
It's weird, man, because
so weird. They
have Don Cheadle in a shot that they keep cutting to over and over again, and in the back it's the same characters, and you have Pennywise, you have Penguin from Batman Returns in there, you got the Droogs from Clockwork Orange. They're all standing in the same shot. The White Walkers from Game of Thrones, they're all there, and it's like these are the creepy characters.
Yeah.
Which
you had like the Flintstones and the Jetsons and the Animaniacs like way in the background.
Yeah.
But like the creepy killer characters, rapists are right front and center.
Yes. And it makes sense. They're standing behind the bad guy. Like that should have given it all.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a couple things. You didn't like LeBron as much as I think he's fine. I think he gets better as the movie progresses.
He got better. Towards the end, I was liking him. Like on the actual court when he was doing his thing, I had no issues with LeBron there.
Well, then his redemption arc at the end when him and his son come together, I felt that as a genuine moment there. I don't think he's better actor than Michael Jordan. I think that's pretty easy. Michael was bad.
I didn't think like LeBron was a bad actor. Period. I liked what he did in Trainwreck. I thought he was fantastic in Trainwreck. So. For me, I feel like this was more of a step down because I saw his acting chops in Train. Maybe he was just being himself.
He's not a leading man. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he wasn't. But the little scenes that he was in, I feel like, I don't know if I gave because we talked Trainwreck, haven't we, on the show?
Yeah.
I don't feel that I feel like I would have given him the cameo or the Mahershala Ali, like to be honest with you, because I really like this cat. Oh no, I think I gave it to Cena, and then the supporting was for LeBron. But honestly, like I thought he was great in that. And I was like, oh my God. When I first saw Trainwreck, I'm like, this guy can, he was actually really funny. I thought he was going to be like terrible.
Yeah.
So
he's fine. Then you have other characters in there. You have I think Don Cheadle chews up scenery. Like he's just having the time of his life. But really, the actors you got to talk about are the tunes. The tunes are the ones that are really, the main characters of this film. So you got your Bugs Bunny. I thought Zendaya as Lola Bunny was awesome.
He was
a great little addition there. I thought Daffy Duck was amazing. I think he was probably my favorite.
My number one was Wile E. Coyote.
Coyote.
Every time he was on screen, he was killing me.
Yes.
So, seeing again from the Mad Max to the slow motion scenes to the multiple the Wileys and the bombs and all that, I thought he was so great. I'm like they utilized him so well. They did my boy Dirts again, Marvin the Martian. He was not in it again, just like in the first one, he was a referee for whatever, and then in this one,
This one he just looked like an idiot. Like
yeah, dude. I'm like, God damn it, man. I was so pissed.
Like,
I know this scene was in the trailer, but I loved the part where Daffy tells Yosemite Sam to shoot the ball. And he just starts popping off, and then oh my god, dude, that scene kills me every time. It's so freaking funny.
I saw like one of the things that was confusing to me is when they're starting the game and you see the starting five. How is Tweety Bird in the starting five?
No, I said the same thing as I was watching it. I was like, Tweety's in the starting five, and what?
Yeah, but, it's Bugs, it's Lola, it's LeBron, it's Tweety, and I think Taz is the
Taz.
other.
I think, yeah, I think I'm not 100% on Taz, but yeah, no. Answer me this: how does the point system work in this film?
It doesn't. That's the it doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense at all. You get like style points,
and just you can make multiple baskets and get rack up 1,000. They were down 1,000 points at the half.
Literally, like in these movies, you know where it's going generally, but at halftime they were down 1,000 points, and I genuinely thought like they're actually not going to come back from this. That's a lot of points. I've seen plenty of basketball games. 1,000's a lot. One other thing I want to ask you is it's not the Monstars, it's the Goon Squad this time. So you have it's Damian Lillard, Diana Taurasi. It's Diana Taurasi or Sue Bird, I don't remember. Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson. Those are your Monstars, basically. What did you think of them? I thought they were cool, unique.
I thought they were cool. Klay Thompson as the splash bro and the fire guy for me stole the show out of all of them. To be honest with you, that was hands down my favorite goon. And I obviously we're gonna start comparing 1 and 2. I thought the Monstars were more likable characters, not likable, but more.
They had more life in them.
Yeah, they did, man. These were honestly just there to shoot, and that's it. It wasn't really a character for me. They were cool designs, but in that aspect, number 1. I like the villains in number 1 a lot more. But they were cool to watch. Damian Lillard's what do they call him? The Dame time. So I thought that was pretty dope. Anthony Davis as the Bird was pretty funny too.
It is funny, yeah. He's just there to look big and menacing.
But for me, it was all about Klay Thompson's character. I thought that was so dope. I like the way they utilized him, everything. So that's it. I don't have much to say. Even the jersey, like my brother really loved the Goon Squad. Goon Squad, right?
Yeah.
He really he was looking up to buy a jersey and all that. Like he really liked them, and I was like, oh, they're fine.
One thing one criticism I will throw is I didn't think the movie was that funny. And when you have people like Sarah Silverman sitting there as a Warner Brothers executive, maybe ask her to write a couple jokes. Maybe just throw that in there a little bit. Maybe let her riff a little bit to LeBron. Stephen Yeun's just there. I don't know where that happened. He's just a Warner Brothers executive.
I feel like he was maybe walking the lot, going to go shoot something, or maybe pitch an idea for a new movie. Yeah. And they're like, "Hey, put on a suit. We got a little quick check for you."
Yeah, you want to sit down with LeBron James?
Maybe 30 minutes to finish this.
Yeah, just sit in this room with LeBron. There might be a camera there. We don't know, but just talk to him. He's a nice guy. He wants to meet you.
Yeah, that's honestly how it went down with both of them.
And then there is a fun cameo in there too.
That is a really good cameo, which was really funny. I wanted to see more of the cameo personally once they introduced the cameo, but it was used really well. I thought it was really.
It was. So at the end of the day, I don't think this is a bad movie at all. People are trashing this like it's the worst thing ever. They're just discovering that this is an ad for Warner Brothers. Like we said, newsflash. So was the original one. So if you like the first, then you need to acknowledge that the second one is the same thing.
I honestly think it's more towards the hate of LeBron. It's LeBron hate versus anything else. And this movie was the second he signed, as many fans as he has, I feel like this movie was going to get doomed by the LeBron haters, hands down.
Yeah.
And you can't go. It's a film. It's not a basketball game. It's not, it's a fucking movie for kids. So relax.
Yeah, let's chill.
Don't stop. Stop it. And you're like, oh, dude. I'm 35. I know the original came out when I was 10. I was not bashing this movie. I was not excited for it. I mean, I was like curious because I'm like, oh man, a sequel to Space Jam. I wasn't gonna be like, oh, it's gonna flop. I wasn't like that. But I'm like that for most properties. I just go in there, I watch them, and if I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't.
Exactly. Like, I don't go in there saying.
I honestly thought I wasn't gonna like this one because of the beginning of the film. Once he goes into Toon World is where it made that switch for me, where I was like, I can get behind this now. Because at first I was like, I didn't like it. I was like, oh, this is gonna be pretty shitty, and it sucks that it's 2 hours long. And once they hit that mark, and they introduce you to the Looney Tunes, and they reintroduce you to the verse, and then the basketball game is pretty lengthy. It's a long part of the film. Like, you were actually getting some basketball there.
It's like the last hour of the movie.
Yeah. But again, there's some things in the film that we can't get into because it's spoiler territory that they don't make sense. Mm-hmm. But at all, like, how much is supposed to make sense in a cartoon movie for kids? Like, it's about the Looney Tunes. Like,
it's fine. Yeah. Fine. So I think we both recommend Space Jam: A New Legacy. I'm sure it did really good at the box office, and then it fell off its second weekend, which is expected. All these HBO Max movies are doing this because they debut in theaters, people go and see them, but then they can watch them at home immediately. So, except In the Heights, I guess people just didn't rush to see that one at all, which is a shame.
Some people are, but I mean, I definitely recommend, if you haven't seen it already. I know we're a little behind on this review, but check it out. Go in there with an open mind. Remember that this movie is for kids as you are watching it. Mm-hmm. But it's a fun time, and if you don't, I mean, you have kids, watch it with them, and you'll probably enjoy it more because there's parts of they'll definitely be laughing at.
Exactly.
So it is a recommendation. Maybe not rush to the theater if you don't have HBO Max. You can wait to see it, but it's definitely a movie worth checking out.